for part B, this is similar to what we did last week. It asks us to find the particular solution, y equals f of x. So we have to find the original equation, solve for y, to this differential equation that we were given. So that was dy dx equals y minus 1 over x squared. And we're given that initial condition. So we know it goes to the point 2, 0. So we're going to have to substitute that in later to find out what c is. Well, first step here, just like any other ones where we're solving a differential equation, is we need to separate the variables. We need to get the x and the dx on one side, the y's dy on the other. So we're going to multiply both sides by dx. But now we have the y and the x on this side with the dx. We don't want the y minus 1 here, so we need to move it to the other side. What can we do? Multiply by the reciprocal, 1 over y minus 1. Now we've separated these variables. That's 1 point right there. I'm just going to write this instead of 1 over x squared, I'm going to write it as x to the negative second dx. So right there, we have 1 point by separating the variables, and you can see that on the rubric that I gave you. Next step is to do the antiderivative of each side. And here's where you get a lot of points, and it's not super difficult. But if we look at the left side here, antiderivative of 1 over y minus 1, what do we get? Natural log of absolute value of y minus 1. Right there, that's 1 point. Now, we didn't have to use u substitution here because it's just y minus 1, or if it was like y plus 5, something simple like that. We don't have to bother with u substitution. But if it was like 5y, or like a y squared or something like that, we may need to use u substitution to solve that, or take the antiderivative. Over here, antiderivative of x to the negative second, add 1 to the exponent, so we get x to the negative first. Divide by the new exponent, we just get negative 1 times x to the negative first. That's another point. And your easiest point is to remember plus c. That's 1 point. So right now, we already have 4 points out of the 6. This whole problem, part B, is worth 6 points. We have 4 points here, 2 on the first part. We are already at 6 out of 9 points. So we're doing really good for this problem. Now, the last 2 problems take a little bit more work than the first few did. Next step we're going to do is figure out what c is. Right? We're going to use our initial point, plug that in, and figure out what c is. So 2 is going in for x. 0 in for y. Well, here we get 0 minus 1, negative 1, but absolute value of that is just 1. Put 2 in here, this is like negative 1 over x, so it ends up being negative 1/2 plus c. Well, what's natural log of 1 equal to? 0, right? Natural log of 1 is actually 0, so it's like 0 equals negative 1/2 plus c, so c equals 1/2. That's another point. All right, our last point comes from solving the equation for y. We have natural log of absolute value of y minus 1 equals, I'm going to write this as negative 1 over x plus 1/2. We need to solve this for y. We need to get y by itself. So what can we do to both sides to get rid of this natural log? Not multiply by e, but we're going to do e to that power. E to this power, e to this power. And we do e to the natural log. Those are inverses, so they cancel out, and we get absolute value of y minus 1 equals e to the negative 1 over x. Oops, and then plus 1/2 is still up in the exponent there. We need to remember, though, with absolute value, our answer could be positive or negative. So we get 2 possibilities here. Y minus 1 equals e to the negative 1 over x plus 1/2. Or y minus 1 equals negative e to the negative 1 over x plus 1/2. We have to figure out which one of these works. The key to figuring out which one is the correct answer is that initial point. We know it has to go through 2, 0. So if we put 2 in here, well, actually, let me take one more step. I'm going to solve for y. So we get 1 plus e to the negative 1 over x plus 1/2. or y equals 1 minus e to the negative 1 over x plus 1/2. If we put 2 in for x, we need to get 0 out for y. I'll put 2 in here, we get negative 1/2 plus 1/2 is 0. E to the 0 is 1. 1 plus 1 would give us 2, but we want y to be equal to 0. So this one doesn't work. If we put it in here, we get e to the negative 1/2 plus 1/2. So again, it becomes e to the 0, which is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0, and that's what our y value is. So this is our correct answer. And that's our final point for part B.